If you live in a cold environment and you're looking for sauna models that are actually going to work in these elements, it doesn't have to be these specific brands, but what are the deciding factors in these environments that are going to make or break these sauna sessions? We're testing outdoor saunas, pouring a pad, trenching and electrical. It's going to be like part of a little grilling pavilion thing that I want to build. Then I can also do traditional wood burning as a baseline. Nobody knows, but I've been burning wood since I was 6, 7 years old.
Let me tell you guys, he burns some wood.
Well, I grew up with wood stove, so I've been cutting, splitting, doing firewood my whole life. Everyone thinks that we don't have experience with wood stoves. We do. It's just not practical in the city. It's definitely not practical in Florida. So we've opted for infrared or all these other, but anyway.
You made it a point to let everyone know that you don't care what kind of sauna they choose, but sauna has greatly impacted your life.
Yeah.
So if you were stuck in Maine, you can't come back down to Florida, what are the 3 saunas that you would confidently say, these are gonna combat these negative temperatures?
All right, if it's outside, it's gotta be a hybrid. It's gotta be an outdoor hybrid. I wouldn't put an indoor sauna out there because the walls aren't thick enough, there's no insulation, and you don't have enough horsepower in it to combat 20 below zero temperatures with snow on top of it. So has to be a hybrid. You could look at something like a Heavenly Heat hybrid. It could be one of the brands that I probably wouldn't buy, like a Finleo. Nothing against Finleo, they make a wonderful product. Their particular hybrids don't allow you to dual heat simultaneously. So when you walk up to the control panel to do your sauna session for the day, you have to select, do I want an infrared day or a traditional day? What I'm suggesting is get a hybrid sauna outside in 20 below zero weather so that you can run both types of heat at the same time, and it'll truly heat up in a reasonable amount of time. I don't like the idea of having a hybrid and having to choose. I want both. That's gonna do 2 things. It'll give me the benefits of infrared, it'll give me the high heat of traditional, but it'll also give me the preheat of both, right? So if I've got snow on top of it, if it's 15 below zero, if it's all this stuff, the temperature swing from 15 below zero to 160 degrees is massive. So the amount of time and energy consumption that it takes to make that swing, you need everything that you can on your side. Insulated walls, true outdoor construction, weatherproof roof. You know, these stupid indoor saunas that you see on Amazon, the stupid outdoor saunas that you see on Amazon are literally a repurposed indoor sauna with a Lexan roof that are gonna be dead in 24 months. They have no weather protection on the floor. There's gonna be ice and snow underneath. If you look at the breathable grooves underneath, that is not an outdoor sauna. You can get one of those for $2,000 or $3,000, but you won't have a sauna in a couple of years. It'll just be absolutely trashed. And then the heat up time is going to be totally nuts if it's truly cold where you are. If you're saying that a Florida winter is cold, this is a different conversation, right?
No, Maine is like cold to the core of the ground. I watched you dig during winter and it is all frozen.
And just to be fair, if you don't like any of these type options and you truly need an outdoor sauna for snow, you could get a barrel or a traditional outdoor sauna. Just make sure that it has a weatherproof brow. If you have a barrel sauna and you're gonna put it in the snow, it has to have a weatherproof brow. Whether it's shingle, metal cladding, it doesn't really matter. If you don't believe me, go do a Google Images search for Costco barrel sauna leaking, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The snow builds up on the barrel, you heat the barrel up. You get something that condenses underneath the snow on the outside of the barrel slats, the wooden slats. That freezes overnight after you shut the sauna down. Now you have a thick layer of ice that is then going to heat up the next time you use the sauna. The moisture has nowhere to go on the outside. It comes through the grooves, then you get swelling and contraction from the wood itself. Now your barrel, your brand new barrel, is dripping water right through the top. Very, very, very critical. Go look this up. A gazillion people have had this problem. It's easily rectified. You want to buy a model or retrofit it yourself. Put a shingle roof on it. Put a pergola over it. Put snap lock metal panels on it if you have to. So you don't have to do a screw down metal roof necessarily. You could do, concealed fastener or whatever, or buy something that has this accounted for, because that's going to make or break the longevity of the thing.
Now we've covered outdoor options. You have a garage up there, it gets freezing, it's not heated. You got a basement, it stays reasonable, but it still gets down to like 60.
It's 50, 55, no heat.
So these are low temperatures, and
we keep the basement about 65 where the basement gym is.
If you stuck let's just say this Life Pro that's off to the side. Yep.
Okay.
That is not going to, in the garage, there's no way.
Oh, in the garage?
Yeah, in the garage, there's no way that works. So what are you sticking out in the garage?
But it doesn't matter if it's a $2,500 Life Pro or a $5,000 Clearlight Premier. too.
So which one would you stick in the garage to counteract that kind of swing?
Like which indoor model?
Yep.
No, wouldn't. I'd put an outdoor sauna in there.
Really?
Yeah,
So you definitely choose hybrid for that though.
yeah. It's too cold.
Which hybrid would you choose? Probably the Heavenly Heat one?
I'd probably do, like for inside, I'd probably do a Heavenly Heat combo 2-person. Or you could do, I mean, you can make anything work. It's just, dude, 15 degrees to 160, 170, that is a long swing. So if you're not planning on heating the space, you need the same stuff that I just went through talking about an outdoor model. You need something that's heavy duty construction. You want it to store the thermal mass in the sauna itself so the heat retention is tight. You want it to be insulated somehow. It doesn't need a weatherproof roof in the garage, but you can't be having heat loss, right? You can't be putting models in there that have that much glass and no heaters on the front wall, because what you're gonna get is 15-degree weather right on the front of the glass, and you're gonna be trying to work against that. You don't have enough horsepower in the sauna. You don't have any thermal mass in the walls. You don't have enough, the mechanics of it are not set up right for that environment. So your experience is gonna be, your heat up times are gonna be an hour and a half. Like, your use cases are gonna be terrible. Your adherence is gonna go to zero because it's cumbersome to use. You're gonna be following my videos and figuring out how to put heat lamps, which is an option actually. That, I forgot to mention that. That if I had to use something like this, an indoor sauna in a garage like that, I'd put a patio heater or heat lamps in the ceiling. It's great that you show me you can get a 1500 watt heater to add supplemental heat to this thing for 300 bucks. It's not so great that that needs its own power just for that, separate from the sauna, or where tripping breaker is not gonna work. So there's a lot to consider when you start bringing elements in.
And that's why I want to make sure we stick with plug and play, because not a lot of people, man, I've watched you drill holes in $6,500 saunas, and
Yep.
I'll tell you, not a lot of people are willing to do that.
Well, they freak out because it's a lot of money to spend, and then you're chopping it up a little. But
So, okay,
if you've done it 40 or 50 times, it's not a big deal because you know exactly where the wires are routed through the walls. You're not going to, drill through a heater or anything like that. People are right to be, scared of doing that. But if you want to take something that's built for conditioned space and use it in an unconditioned space, this is what's going to be required to make it work well.
something like the Rocky Mountain one person with the instant on full spectrum heater in the front.
Yes.
You don't think that that's going to combat the temperature swing in the garage?
In the basement gym where it's 55, yes. In the garage where it's 15 degrees, no.
Really?
No.
Okay, so that was actually the one that I was thinking would do best as far as
Sure.
just plug and play, stick it in there. You don't have to upgrade electrical. You don't have to do anything. You just put it in the garage. But you think that that's actually a better contender for the basement?
It would do the best out of these.
Okay.
But none of this style, it's not about the brand, it's not about anything. It's for that particular use case, none of them are gonna blow your doors off. None of them are gonna make you happy. Every single one of them is gonna leave you wanting more. If it was a smaller temperature range, if it was like 65, to 150, your temperature swing shrunk.
Yes.
15 degrees to 150 is like, it takes so much power to go from 15 degrees to 65, almost the same amount of power to go from 65 to 150 in my testing.
The last place I could see somebody putting in a sauna is in the basement.
The last place?
We got outdoor,
Oh.
we've got in the garage, because we're just
Yeah.
creeping inside slowly.
Yeah.
And then if it's inside their house, they can just stick whatever they want. They could put a mini sauna in there from Amazon and it'd probably be fine. But in the basement, it stays, you said, between 55 and 65,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range. What would you stick down there during the coldest winters to make sure that you, without a doubt, can get that sauna to heat up to the temperature you'd like?
Well, I think some of this is the things that sauna companies don't want you to know, because everyone thinks that these things just heat up no matter where you put them in whatever temperature. And they get so surprised when they're like, well, what do you mean it's not going to heat up? You don't understand what is required for something to take an ambient temperature of, 50, 60 degrees and go to 160 in the same environment. The first thing that I'd probably put down there is a Rocky Mountain or something that has a instant on heater on the front wall, because it's going to reduce the preheat time. It's like adding a heat lamp to the ceiling, which is how we modify the Costco or the Life Pro or anything to work in that type of environment. It's the same reason that you would spend an extra $1,000 to get a accessory heater on the glass door of a Clearlight Premier. The trouble is, you run into power equipment or power requirement issues in a lot of these cases. In basements, it's usually easy because you have overhead access and you can run dedicated circuits relatively easy as long as you have an open bay in your electrical panel. So most of the time people get away with this, and if they don't, it's a relatively inexpensive mistake, $200-300. Heavenly Heat Eco would work well down there. And then from there, I would skip what I usually recommend. I would jump over the regular 2-person models because they're 15 amp. And I think you would want to jump to a 20 amp power supply. Not a huge sauna, maybe something like a Radiant Health 2.5, but you get 20 amps, you get a little more horsepower on tap. You don't want the cubic footage to get so big that you're trying to increase the temperature in a too large of a space, because that's going to work against you when you're dealing with cold temperatures. And as always, you could put a hybrid combo down there and that would blow your doors off. Pretty sure they have indoor models, doesn't have to be an outdoor model. So if you have the dual heat, that's gonna give you everything. So if you live in a cold environment, to summarize, and you're looking for sauna models that are actually gonna work in these elements, everything that we've talked about today and anything that's like this, it doesn't have to be these specific brands, it could be, you know, something else. But listen to what I'm saying, read between the lines, look at what are the deciding factors in these environments that are going to make or break these sauna sessions. If you get those things right and avoid the pitfalls that we talked about throughout the video, watch it in full, rewatch it if you have to, you're going to be well on your way to really loving an indoor-outdoor sauna in a cold climate.